So
Yeah.
we open up outside of a church. It's nighttime. It's starting to rain a little bit, and there's just a crowd of angry villagers with their torches and pitchforks.
All right.
Run down the streets looking for someone that they're calling the devil. But outside this outside this church, we see a hooded figure run up to the church door and sneak inside.
And it's Zack Snyder.
You better run. And as this scene is happening, we're kind of getting this scene with this church and another scene at a park at night in New York, and they're interspliced, and they're also backed up with verses being told by a reverend from the Bible. And the verse begins with, "Now war arose in heaven." And then we see these two girls in New York in like a park.
Just beating the shit out of each other.
No, they're running through the park because they're running away from someone or something.
Yeah.
At the same time, inside
the Nightcrawler. You dropped your purse.
Wait, get back.
Come on.
Hey,
you have 3 fingers.
You dropped your knife. Wait. And then inside the church, we see the hooded figure is like walking down the altar, and the priest of the church is there, and he sees the hooded figure, and immediately the priest takes out a crucifix and starts like waving it, and
it's Azrael.
And
it's actually like a legitimate guess, or whatever the hell the bigger red Nightcrawler is.
Oh yeah,
Azazel?
Yeah, his name is Azazel.
Okay.
Azrael is the fake Batman.
The Batman guy.
Yeah, but the priest is like swinging his crucifix at this hooded man.
I'm sorry.
My chest cap. No. Why would you open that?
I just cracked open a nice cold Raffi.
That's a nightmare of a scenario.
Imagine if everybody just had a tab on their forehead. Just brain leaks out.
Fucked up.
Anyways, that's what the X-Men want.
That's such a Rick and
That's what Spider-Man wants.
That's such a Rick and Morty. But yeah, so the priest is waving a crucifix, and the next line is Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and yeah, the two girls are like hiding in a bush, and behind them are like a small group of armed men.
Craven the Hunter. No.
Looking for you. No.
We're getting weird.
In order to fight mutants, they gotta eat mutants.
But the point is that like these two girls who are being chased by military dudes through the park. The hooded figure like pushes the priest aside and jumps up and bamfs. And the priest managed to grab the cloak so that when the figure gets up to like, I guess the support beams that are like on the roof of not the roof, but the ceiling kind of the church, it's Nightcrawler.
Okay.
And he looks back, and the priest is terrified because obviously Nightcrawler looks like a fucking demon. And Nightcrawler crawls out the window to get up to the roof of the church. And the next line is, and the dragon and his angels fought back. We then see Nightcrawler get onto
the dragon has angels.
Yes.
This is Magic the Gathering shit.
so biblical.
Yeah!
Bibs.
The Bible. Have you read the Holy Bible?
Have you even read the Bible?
Don't you watch the anime if you haven't read the manga.
George R. R. Martin's classic tale, The Bible.
A ball of ice and fire.
But yeah, Nightcrawler makes it onto the church as villagers are throwing like beer bottles and torches at him.
I forgot, he lives in like
Germany.
Yeah, but like the modern world is going on, and then there's just like
old Germany. Yep. Let's see.
We still believe in vampires.
Fucking Blade.
Blade.
The Bible verse continues.
By the way, Blade's here. No.
The Bible verse continues, but he was defeated, and there was no longer a place for him in heaven. We then see as like.
When is there not a place for a fucking dragon? Like, how do you get that guy out?
It's evil.
So?
We just bang some pots.
Are you gonna walk up to a dragon and tell it, hey, you can't be here?
No, I'll get Michael to do it. Yeah.
I'll just call on my boy, the Archangel.
So rain begins to fall. And we go back to the park where these armed military men have some kind of handheld device that starts beeping and detecting the two girls.
So we got like a mutant detector.
Yeah. And the line goes, and the great dragon was thrown down, and then ladders hit the side of the church as the villagers climb up. That ancient serpent. The girls are dragged up by their hair, and one of them starts to have like neon skin, and they can't be any older than like 12. but like one of them has like the neon skin going on.
And the other one's actually just a dragon.
No, the other one is just a girl.
Oh.
What is it? Who is called the devil, and then people like crawl onto the roof through the ladders, and the line goes, "And Satan, the deceiver of the whole world, thunder strikes the church roof, and fire breaks out. So the villagers are like jumping off to survive, and Nightcrawler's just kind of stuck up there.
Get out, man! Bamf out!
Bamf out, bruh. The two girls are thrown onto the ground by the armed military dudes, and they train their guns on them.
Dude, the gun just has a Bowflex. What? Fucking training.
He was thrown down to earth. And like Nightcrawler's like he's surrounded by flame, but he looks up and in the sky is a black jet slowly floating in. And we go back to the girls, and the girl with neon skin is shot off camera. And the other girl is terrified, and the armed men are just they're silent through the whole thing. And out of the jet, as the bay opens,
Storm.
What Nightcrawler believes is an angel floats out.
Oh, angel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I always thought, like, why have they never done something like that? But the storm, the
that
raid...
would be a cool, like...
Because he would see him and be like,
yeah.
Oh, you're an angel.
That would be a cool, like, buddy cop thing to see.
Nightcrawler and angel, yeah.
Nightcrawler, yeah.
Angels and demons, or demons and angels, something like that. But yeah, the storm also starts to clear up because you know who's in the jet. So the angel comes out of the jet and reaches a hand out to Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler reaches a hand back out. We go over back to the park where the other girl...
His gross three-fingered hand.
Where the other girl is closing her eyes because she knows that something's going to happen. The last line is, and his angels were thrown down with him. Cut to black. Bang!
Bang.
Then we cut to the Reverend who's actually giving this sermon. He's at this kind of small... it's basically like, this character is Reverend William Stryker. Now, he was in the second X-Men movie, but...
Stryker.
Yeah, but in the comics, he's a Reverend.
Uh-huh.
And in this scene, he has like a big sermon area. I don't know what the technical word would be, but he's a religious fundamentalist and a televangelist. So it's one of those things where you go on TV and you watch like this priest give a sermon.
People are scummy.
Yeah, he's like curing the blind in quotation and stuff like that.
Are scummy.
Yeah, he's one of those guys. He has an area and he's on TV and he's giving this sermon to all these people. The Reverend is talking about how he's telling his followers that mutant kind is an upfront to God's creation. That they are the stains on the beautiful cloth of the Lord.
Yeah.
And
the beautiful cloth of the Lord.
Yes.
Neat.
But he's looking through the crowd,
cloth.
And he sees his one of his assistants, Anna, who's like a badass military chick, a Mercy Graves type of character, and she is looking over the crowd, and she looks at this one old woman who's sitting there, and the Reverend walks over, and he's calling this woman a mutant, like a secret mutant. And all these followers are like, oh, if he's saying it, she must be a mutant. So they join in, they call her a mutie, and the older one stands up, and she walks out, and she gets outside, and like the actual building is in, I guess, the room is in a building that Stryker owns, and his penthouse that he lives in is at the very top. So he does all his business from one building. This woman leaves, and she's in the back alley, or not really in the back alley, she's walking out, she's going down the stairs, and that's when Anna follows her down and tries to shoot her.
Yeah.
But this old woman does some crazy martial arts, and like, escapes Anna. And the old woman runs into a back alley, where there's a bunch of shadowy figures, and they're like, how to go? And the old woman says, oh, they knew I was a mutant. And the old woman shifts into Mystique.
Ooh.
Which is the exact bit I did in the Gambit one.
Yeah. Well, that's so easy to do with a
just her
character
thing.
like that.
It's her, yeah.
Like, by the way, it was me the whole time.
But yeah, she wins Mystique, and the others are like...
Charleston Chew.
The others are like, if they could tell you're a mutant, then William Stryker is really a problem. And she tells them, he was always a problem, but now he's a threat. And that's where you cut to the Marvel...
What a fucking edgy thing to say.
Yeah.
He was always a problem, but now he's a threat.
So, that's how you get the Marvel Studios logo, and you get a cinematic version of the 90s X-Men theme song. Kind of like the one I was playing at the beginning. Because in Spider-Man Homecoming, the intro song is Spider-Man, but it's in like that cinematic style. So I like that. So we open up with...
I need to make that just fucking horrible.
With Nightcrawler sleeping in a bed.
Yes.
Like he's in a regular soft-looking bed in a dorm room. And he's about 21, I should also mention.
Yeah.
So he's sleeping.
Well, how old was he during the church thing?
21. This is actually like a few days later.
A few days later.
So yeah, Nightcrawler's sleeping in a bed, and a little bit of breeze hits his face, and he kind of ignores it. Another one hits him, he ignores it, and he looks up, and the window's closed. So he doesn't know where the wind's coming from, but he tries to go back to sleep. And then a whirl of wind lifts him off the bed, and he falls off of it.
Now,
yeah,
is he the weird one with all the scars in his face?
No.
Or is he just blue?
He's blue, and he's got the short furry hair.
Okay.
Because in the comics, it's not his skin that's blue; it's short furry hair over his body.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, it's natural Nightcrawler.
Okay.
And he's going to be our POV character because A,
cool.
He's got links to religion. B, he's a great like I'm new here kind of character.
Yeah.
People respond to him differently. He's the perfect example of what a mutant is in the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
And he's my favorite.
Yeah, he's cool.
Crawling knight.
I am the crawling
It's
knight.
weird that
my dad's a demon.
It's weird that two of my favorite characters are Nightcrawler and Nightwing.
Yeah.
But I hate Nighthawk.
And they're blue.
They're
What about
blue.
Darkhawk?
What about Darkhawk?
He's cool.
Darkhawk.
Oh.
So yeah, Nightcrawler is lifted off his bed by wind, and he's tossed down. And he looks up, and standing in the doorway is Storm.
It's Mercy Graves. Yeah.
And Storm is like, "Okay, I gave you a full day to sleep. It's time for you to explore the campus."
Yes.
And he's like, "I don't want to. Everyone's gonna think I'm weird." And he can stand up, and he's in like his whitey tighties, and she's like, "You can get dressed."
Yeah. Come.
Have you seen Beast? He's got weird feet.
No,
Beast is you with long hair.
He hasn't seen Beast yet. So Storm shows Kurt the school and introduces some characters, which is a great like intro point for us, the audience.
Of course.
Now, here's another thing I should probably establish because I don't really make a big deal of it here. In this universe, mutants have existed since the 60s.
Only since the 60s.
Only since the 60s. They might have been around before that, but they became more prevalent as the years went on.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, around I want to say the 90s is when like the Xavier School was founded. So it's only been around for like 20 years. But mutants have been around forever. It's just that they become more frequent as time goes on. Now, the reason we've never heard of mutants in any other Marvel movie is because it's such small potatoes compared to, hey, so there's a city.
By the way, the Clintar are here. Like, yeah.
Yeah, there's a city where like it's like the future, but it's in the middle of Africa.
Yeah.
Like that shit is more important than there are people that are just born with powers. But we're at a time in the Marvel universe where mutants are becoming more prevalent. And so it's becoming more of a debate and more of a topic.
Mm-hmm.
So mutants have always been there, but now we're actually paying attention to it. So, yeah, Nightcrawler wakes up, and Storm shows him around the school, and he goes down to like one of the classrooms where he meets a couple of the teachers, and two of the teachers are Iceman and Banshee. Now, here's another thing I do in this. There are essentially main X-Men characters, and then there are secondary characters that are at the school but not part of the X-Men.
Yeah.
And again, I'll get more into that as what the X-Men are, but essentially some of these characters are just teachers. They've been on the X-Men, but they'd rather be teachers. So Iceman and Banshee are teachers. Storm shows Nightcrawler the library where he meets Angel, and you know they obviously have kind of an awkward first meeting because Nightcrawler is of course like, you're an angel, and he's like, I'm just a guy, I'm just a man. But we also learn here that because Angel is rich. They didn't really talk about that in the movies or anything. Mm-hmm. Because Angel comes from a rich family, he kind of helps keep the lights on at the Xavier School. But his father is known to be like an anti-mutant kind of person, so it's also pretty dicey there. In the library, he also meets Colossus, and Colossus don't change a damn thing from the Deadpool version.
It's such a good version.
It's a perfect version of Colossus. He's friendly, but he also knows how to whoop ass when he gets to.
Yeah.
So. There's another thing about
Colossus.
Yeah, there's another thing about Colossus I bring in for this from the Ultimate Universe. We'll get to that soon, or later. But yeah, then he goes to the science lab, and they're walking in, and Storm is like, "That's weird. Hank's usually in here," and Nightcrawler's like, "Oh, Hank, like, is he another mutant?" And she's like, "Yeah, but listen, I know it's not going to mean anything to you, but his appearance can be a little and then
jarring.
And then from down the ceiling, like hanging upside down, is Beast.
Yeah.
He's gray, not blue."
Oh, you're doing the magic-y one.
No, I'm not doing the magic-y one. When Hank first becomes Beast, he's blue for he's gray for like 2 issues. And then for some reason they colored him blue from then on.
Huh.
Yeah, he shares that with Hulk, where like he started off gray for some reason.
That's weird.
I think it was a coloring thing. They ran out of blue. I don't know. So yeah, he hangs down. And Nightcrawler is like, "Oh, hi," and Hank is like, "Wow, usually when I do this, it surprises people." And he's like, "Well, have you looked at me? It's kind of nice to be another furry person."
Yeah.
So they shake hands. Kurt and Storm go to.
Oh, your persona's great. This is my skin.
Oh, you're one of those.
You're one of those.
So
Not the Navy. Anyway.
So Kurt and Storm go into the danger room, which is of course a training room with solid holograms. And just as they're walking in, the gym teacher Logan is walking out, and he's wearing civilian clothes. He's covered in oil and sweat. He's got like a towel over his shoulder. And Kurt says hi, but Logan just and keeps walking. And that's kind of the running joke for this. Logan's gonna be very low key. Wolverine is very low key in this movie, which again, which
is good. You don't want to Wolverine it up.
Yeah. Plus, we've done Wolverine movies, and I'd like those to kind of be in continuity with this. So it would make sense if he's more low key in the X-Men movies because he stars in his own.
Low key.
Oh! That wasn't a laugh. That was pain coming out of my mouth.
That was genuine pain.
But yeah, Logan doesn't greet him back. As Storm and Kurt are walking through the hallways, Storm explains that the younger mutants that are here can either live here, or they can come here after school. It's essentially just a training program so that kids can learn how to control their powers. And because Kurt is 21 and he used his powers in the circus, the professor, who Nightcrawler is hasn't really met yet, the professor thinks that Nightcrawler is X-Men material. And Nightcrawler's like, "Oh, the X-Men, are they like a superhero team? I've never heard of them. Are they like the Avengers?" And Storm's like, "No!" But Storm is like, "We're not like the Avengers."
What are you talking about? We're nothing like them. Fucking Iron Man.
But Storm is more like, what is it? We're not really a superhero team. The X-Men are more like dealing with mutant affairs. Anytime something mutant related happens, they're the authority to go look into it. They kind of have like a unspoken relationship with the police. Like when the police have a mutant related issue, they call Xavier and he gets the X-Men to go help.
Yeah.
So that's their relationship there. And Storm is also like, I know you.
What's up with that Deadpool guy? Fuck him.
Yeah, fuck him. And Storm is like, "Oh, the professor's actually going to be on TV soon. He has an interview on the local news." And before they go watch the interview, they walk by these family portraits on the fireplace. One of them is of the original X-Men team, and one is of a secondary one that came after. And Nightcrawler is looking at some of the photos, and there's one person on there who has kind of like a brass statue outside. And it's the X-Men Thunderbird, who died on his first mission.
Oof.
Yeah, and Storm just explains that he gave his life to save the rest of the team.
Rough.
Yeah.
Go.
And there's another person there named Sunfire who we met in Wolverine 2. And he's like, did he die too? And Storm's like, no, he quit. It wasn't uniform enough for him. And Storm is, and by this point, Storm has said that you can call me Arono, which is my first name, or you can call me Storm. It's my nickname around here. And Kurt is kind of like, man, Sunfire, Thunderbird, Storm, where do people get these nicknames? And she's like, well...
It's on a online name generator app.
Storm is like, well, our leader, Scott, usually comes up with them. We always joke around and say that he made up the nicknames so he wouldn't have to waste time learning people's names. And Kurt's like, so everyone gets a nickname? And Storm is like, well, everybody except for Jean. He would never forget her name. Oh. Which establishes why, in this movie, we're just calling her Jean Grey.
Yeah.
Because that's always been a nitpick of mine, is that she doesn't have a name until Phoenix. So yeah.
Which honestly, up until I learned about the Phoenix Force, I had no idea why they called her Phoenix, because I was like, her powers have nothing to do with it.
They used to call her Marvel Girl, but that was really on the nose.
Yeah.
So Kurt and Storm are watching the interview that Charles has on TV, and he's trying to talk to the interviewer about the science behind mutants and the what is it? The genetics behind it.
But the reporter is like, "Are you dangerous?"
Yeah, but the reporter is like, "What do you have to say about the Brotherhood, which is a group of terrorist mutants?"
And he's just like, "Ugh."
And Charles is trying to get around that. And obviously the allegory is, like every other foreign people, there's a group or one individual who belongs to this one faction of people who's doing horrible terrorist shit, and so the rest of the race suffers for that through stereotyping.
Is this your king? No.
And as the interviewer's talking about the Brotherhood, Nightcrawler turns to Storm and goes, "Who are the Brotherhood?"
What's the Brotherhood? And it's, I don't know.
And Storm just goes,
man and like a fat guy.
and Storm just goes, "They're bad. They're bad people." So outside, behind the Xavier school,
Where that came from?
all the students are playing baseball, which is a classic X-Men scene. A bunch of X-Men students are playing baseball behind the school. It's supposed to invoke teamwork.
But it doesn't. It's really bad.
Nightcrawler and Storm are watching from a window, and Storm is kind of like, "Well, you should go introduce yourself to the students." And he's like, "No, I'm afraid of what they'll think when they look at me. Because a lot of them just look like people."
Yeah.
So, we also see a car pull up front of the school.
Mm-hmm.
And getting out of the car is Cyclops and Jean. Or Scott and Jean.
Yeah.
Should I pause it?
No,
Okay.
no, you're good. I'm trying to get it so she doesn't make noise.
Okay, so Scott and Jean are getting out of this car, and the idea is that they're coming back from their honeymoon.
Aww.
Yeah, so they're already married, and they're coming back.
Gene, do you think there's actually honey in the moon? What do they call it, honeymoon? I'm gonna fucking
Scott,
eat
shut
a
the
sun.
fuck up.
Scott, I'm divorcing you.
Oh my god! If we keep this conversation up, I'll just devour a whole sun.
She has.
I could literally eat a neutron star right now.
But they get out of the car. Scott, Jean hasn't had that shit happen to her.
Yeah.
But they get out of the car and they're greeted by Colossus, who comes out, and Colossus gives them like a big
Hey,
group hug.
hello.
Yeah, hello
Hello,
friends, and he
guys.
gives them a big
Hello,
hug.
friends.
He lifts them up. He gives them
I'm
a big
from
hug.
Chernobyl.
And the three of them go up back.
Radiation getting to my head.
They go back to watch the baseball game, and one of the students like maybe uses their power by accident and hits the ball towards Scott.
A little too hard.
Yeah. And the ball's going flying at Scott, so Nightcrawler bamps over in front of Scott and catches the ball.
Bam.
And then when he turns around, Cyclops' like visor is like beat red.
Yeah.
And Nightcrawler's like, "Oh man!" And Scott's like, "Sorry, I was just I was gonna shoot the ball. I didn't know you were showing up.
bad, man.
My bad." But Kurt introduces himself, and Scott's like, "It's good to meet you. I hope we get to work together more." And before Scott and Jean walk away to talk to the students, Kurt is like, "Oh, also, in the circus, they called me Nightcrawler."
Yeah.
And Cyclops looks over at Storm from the window, and Storm gives him this cheeky smile, like, and Cyclops is just like, "What did she tell you?" But yeah, Jean is basically showing off her wedding ring to some of the students who are like, "Oh my god, he actually did it! Oh my god, I can't believe he got you that ring," or whatever.
Is that how you think women talk? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Ah.
Yes.
Yas, queen.
Yes, queen.
I'm gonna kill myself now.
So they're talking to the students, but another car pulls in, and it's Charles Xavier pulls up.
Just flying bullets.
He's come back from his TV interview,
Yeah.
and his assistant
He's like, I'm a cripple.
and his assistant in this movie is Forge. Forge is like his driver, his caretaker, basically.
Yeah.
But they get out, and Charles doesn't come over to meet Nightcrawler. He's literally just getting out of the car, and Xavier sends a psychic message to Scott and Jean and tells them that unfortunately it seems they'll be back to work sooner than he had hoped. So Scott and Jean leave, and Nightcrawler meets Charles, and Charles is obviously the teacher, the father figure. Nightcrawler feels comfortable with him,
Mm-hmm.
and Charles is like one of the first people that hasn't stared at Nightcrawler like a freak.
Yeah, he's just like, oh, he's blue.
Yeah, he's like,
Moving
whatever.
on.
Like, I've been around long enough. I've seen enough mutants. Like, I'm not going to judge you based off, like, what you look like.
Yeah.
So you get that little meeting there.
And Nightcrawler's like, thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. No attachments. No.
No, let's
Things
not do
mutant dad.
Emotions,
problem
put those
mutant
away.
Son.
that.
So,
Yeah, emotions, I'm gonna fuck with those later, so,
so we then cut to the park from earlier in the movie, the beginning.
yeah.
And it's the daytime, and there's a crime scene going on. There's cops there. There's crime tape everywhere. There's legions of reporters.
Legions.
That's probably the
Holy crap.
A brotherhood.
No. That's good terminology to explain how many fucking people are there. Just like the idea of a legion of reporters.
Well, because it is two children that were murdered and left at this park.
Yeah.
But the police are there and they're investigating. Gene and Scott show up, and the cops are like, "Oh boy, it's the freak parade over here. Oh man, it's those X-Mans. Here comes Laserface and his red wife."
His red wife is
Here comes Laserface.
And they can murmur that. They can murmur that, and Gene is like, I don't need to read minds to like hear what you guys are saying. But like they're hesitant to work with Scott and Jean, but Scott is like immediately like laser focused. Yeah, and he's investigating the scene himself. He's like, the bullets are military grade, based on the various boot marks. There was more than one assailant, and one of the cops is like, all right, so maybe we know a little bit about who might have done this, and like, well, who did it? And the cops talk about a small group of people who have military equipment who are calling themselves the Purifiers.
Ooh.
And they're purifying. And they're responsible for... They think that they're responsible for these 2 murders as well as 3 other murders of children.
Okay.
And Scott is, like, understandably upset because it's like, why didn't Xavier call me when the first kid died?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why...
It's like, well, you were on your honeymoon.
Yeah.
You gotta complete that shit.
You gotta complete it, Scott. It's about commitment.
It's about completion.
I know if I was on a honeymoon with Jean, I wouldn't leave.
Yeah, I would go to completion.
We'll pre-do.
If only my penis worked.
So the conversation between Scott and the cops, who are a little bit racist, is interrupted by the Brotherhood who show up.
Yeah.
And they kind of show up less like a group of terrorists and more like a social group. And they consist of Polaris, who's Magneto's daughter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't do anything with the Scarlet Witch Quicksilver stuff. If they want to establish that, fine. It's not a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Mainly because there's so much other stuff going on to where I'm like, I don't need Magneto to be Scarlet Witch's dad.
Mm-hmm.
But Polaris is here, and she is Magneto's daughter. Also here is Mystique, the Blob, Toad, and Pyro.
Blob in all of his blobbiness.
No Magneto.
Mm-hmm.
So Polaris shows up, and she's like...
Fucking Toad, dude.
And she's like...
He's such, like, a Bulk and Skull villain.
Yeah, like Blob and Toad should have a
Yeah.
book, yeah. Instead of Shuri, for some reason.
Yeah, I think they should just be, like, shitty fast food workers.
Gross.
Like straight Keenan and Kel style.
Yeah,
like,
that'd be great.
but anyways, yeah.
They show up and Polaris is like, yet again, the police are treating this like a chore instead of an actual crime because there's a mutant child involved.
And they're like, what? No.
Yeah, and they're loud and they're intimidating. And Scott Scott is like, guys, go away. Okay, I'm investigating here. We don't need the Brotherhood stemming up more heat. And the Blob is like, why don't you make us leave? Alright, you can't move me. And Blob just kind of pushes Cyclops, and Cyclops has to, like, stem his anger and just keep it in. So he and Jean leave.
Mm-hmm.
We then cut to William Stryker's penthouse, where he's having lunch with Senator Robert Kelly and a government weapon manufacturer named Bolivar Trask.
Bolivar?
Bolivar, yes. I don't know why they named him that. Peter Dinklage played him in Days of Future Past.
Yeah, but honestly,
Yeah.
Bolivar?
Yeah.
That just sounds like they just did
Bolivar.
the fucking bee. Like, no, like the bee meme, where they put like the fucking bee with the red like square around it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So it's again a reverend, a government manufacturer, and a senator.
And a priest all walk into a bar.
Yeah. They're having their lunch, and they're talking about Xavier's like appearance on TV.
School for friggin' mutant children.
School for muties. School for God's wrongs.
God's fuck up.
But they're talking about the mutant detection device that Bolivar, that Trask created for them.
There you go.
and we also learn that the Purifiers are under the pay of William Stryker. They're his organization.
Okay.
So very quickly, this religious TV televangelist has a group of mercenaries that are going out and killing mutant children.
Honestly, with the amount of money that those guys make, wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, he owns the whole building. He's got this militia.
He's got a militia.
Yeah, well,
I want a militia.
he's getting these soldiers
I don't know
from.
what I do with it.
He's getting these soldiers and like public support by the senator, and then he's getting all this weapons and technology from Trask because they all hate mutants. So they're talking about the mutant detection device and how it isn't perfect yet. Like it turns out some of those.
I hate mutants. You hate mutants.
It turns out some of those kids that were murdered weren't actually mutants. Like the device just didn't work correctly.
Yeah.
And again, one of the girls from the intro wasn't a mutant either.
Mm-hmm.
So they're talking about how they need to perfect the technology so that they can integrate it into something else that they're working on.
God, we just can't rapidly advance technology. This isn't a comic book movie.
Cough, cough. Sentinels.
What?
like,
No.
what?
No, we're just making the new iPad, man. So they're like, all right, we need to find a way to upgrade this technology, and they're kind of like, if only we had a mutant. If only we had like.
If only there was a school full of mutants.
It's more
right
like
up the road.
Yeah.
it's more like the three of them know because the X-Men have some kind of relationship with the government. Like, basically, the cops and the government, they give all their mutant problems to Xavier because he's the only one that can really monitor mutants because he has a whole school full of them. But they're basically talking about, like, they know Xavier has Cerebro. And rather than going into the school and stealing it, they're like, what if we had, someone that knew Cerebro? And
Cerebro.
And basically it's Stryker who's like, well, there's a way to shut up Xavier while also using mutant DNA to boost our mutant scanner. 2 birds, 1 stone, gentlemen. 2 birds, 1 stone. Swirling a wine glass. So back at the X-Mansion, Scott and Jean call the X-Men to X-Mansion.
X-Man.
They call the X-Men together into a boardroom.
Yeah.
And this is where we get the actual on-duty X-Men team. And it consists of Colossus, Beast, Storm, Cyclops, Jean, and now Nightcrawler. So Iceman, Banshee, Angel, and Wolverine are all just teachers.
Okay.
But they come into the room, and Scott isn't really Scott doesn't dislike Kurt, but he knows that Kurt isn't experienced in their line of work.
Mm-hmm.
But Jean has to be the one to remind him, listen, when we first met Iceman, all he could do was throw snowballs. So maybe we should just give this kid a chance.
So gross misuse of power.
So Scott is like, all right, we need to investigate all these murders because for whatever reason Charles didn't tell me about the murders before. That would probably be a scene earlier where he goes up to Charles and he's like, why haven't you told me until now? And he's like, well, you're on your honeymoon. I know how important that is to you.
Even the most depressing of us deserve a little bit of happiness. Some weird biblical bullshit.
I can walk. What?
What?
Xavier is also just like, plus,
I just like wheelchairs.
we have police to look into that. Cyclops like, yeah, the police. Always with the police.
We gotta trust them,
Yeah. We gotta trust them, they're gonna trust us. So, the plan is that the X-Men are gonna split up and go to these different spots to, these are the spots where the murders happened.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it? Who goes where? Who goes there? So, Jean and Nightcrawler go to the mall where one girl was murdered in a changing room. Hank and Storm, or Beast and Storm, go to the local library where a boy was killed out back in the alley. And Cyclops and Colossus go to a local school where a boy's body was found under the bleachers of a football field. Mm-hmm. At the mall, we see Jean and Nightcrawler, and people are obviously like, oh man, Nightcrawler, what the fuck, regular people? So
Nightcrawler.
Gross. So
that's my goth.
So Nightcrawler asks Jean to disguise him with her psychic powers.
Mm-hmm.
Now she has telepathy and telekinesis. The telekinesis is not super strong, but she has it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, she disguises Kurt so that he looks like a regular dude, which gives the actor a chance to wipe up the makeup. And they go to the mall security and they're like, hey, we need the videotapes from the store. And he's like, no, you guys aren't actual cops. You're just civilians who are also mutants. So, and Jean reads the guy's mind and finds out that he actually helped the purifiers get in there and get out without anyone noticing.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't like mutants. And Jean is like, you're an accessory to a murder of a child. And he's like...
A mutant child!
Yeah, and he's like, please don't turn me in.
Yeah.
I have a family, I have kids.
Yeah. Don't use your mutant mind-bending powers on me.
And Jean just kind of leans in, she's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not going to report you, and I'm not going to hurt you. I'm going to let you live with the fact that you got a kid killed. So she and Nightcrawler walk out. So they're in the mall, and you have a little character scene where, there's kids playing on a jungle gym in the mall, and Nightcrawler is like, I never had a childhood like theirs, but, the thought of a child having their life ripped away from them, it just makes me miserable. And Jean is like, that's why we gotta make sure everyone's safe. Even if, whether they're mutants or humans, that's why we gotta make everyone safe.
He's like, I don't know, those Brotherhood guys are sounding real good right
through
about
force.
now. Through force. Peace through gun.
An armor around the planet.
An armor around the planet, if you will. Tony, get out of here.
Shoo. So, what is it? Scott and Colossus are like talking to kids at the school. A lot of them are like, I don't want to talk to you guys. Because you're either you're mutants or you're weird or I gotta get to class. And the kid that was killed, a lot of the kids are like, oh yeah, we all thought he was a mutant. Like, why else would you people be here? But some of the close friends of the kid that was killed are just like, no, he was just gay.
Oh.
Like, people just got the wrong idea.
Understandable. They both look like an X gene to the untrained eye.
Exactly, to the untrained eye.
Both are defect.
Oh, Jesus.
God damn it, I can't keep a straight face through it. No, I do not hate the gays. I fucking love them. They're great.
Oh,
Moving
man.
on.
Can't wait to cut this.
I never saw a dick in your mouth, Seth.
That's true.
I don't know, I never
Fellas,
saw
is it gay to exist? I mean, other men exist.
I never saw a dick that I liked. Not even my own. That's how you know I'm not gay. That's how you know I'm the most not gay. So then we go to...
Fucking big boy.
We go to Storm and Beast, who are at the library. And, like, they're trying to get people to talk to them, but they're also like, Beast. And, like, one kid goes over to Beast, and he's like, can I pet you? And Beast is like, well, I'd rather not you pet me, but I'll go for a hearty handshake, young man. And the mom comes over and she's like, don't talk to it, honey.
Yeah, ooh.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I could rip your fucking arms out of their sockets right now.
Storm just kind of pats him on the back.
Yeah, it's okay. It's
But
okay, Hank.
they decide, Gene, using her telepathy, is like, let's call it a day. We'll meet up at our pizza place and we'll compare notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, what is it? Colossus, Beast, Storm, and Cyclops get to the pizza place.
The pizza is cut into 4s, because X.
Fuck, that's good.
What?
That's that's not a scene in this,
No.
but I want to see where they eat pizza and they cut it like in the before. That's good. That could be one of the trailers.
Yeah.
It's in the trailer, but they don't use it in the movie. But they get there before Kurt and Jean do, is the point.
Mm-hmm.
And when they get to the pizza place, before they walk in, across the street, there's a rally going on. And it's William Stryker's rally. And he's talking about how, like, the murder of these children and the rise of the purifiers is a sign from God. That God is putting down his will to eliminate mutant children.
God is summoning guns to kill the mutants.
God is using his will to use his soldiers to eliminate the devil's spawn, basically.
He's bringing angels down.
To kill them with bullets!
To kill the devil's spawn!
And obviously, as the X-Men get closer, some of the people look over and like, hey,
isn't that guy an angel? It's just like Angel.
No, it's like, hey, it's that Beast guy.
Hey, fuck him, he's blue.
And Beast is just, he's not blue. But Beast,
fuck him, he's gray.
But Beast is just like, no, come on, gentlemen, I'm sure we can all be mature. And they just punch him in the stomach.
Fuck.
So, the X-Men...
And he kickflips all over him.
The X-Men, without using their powers, because they don't want to hurt anyone, are like, trying to fight back without using their harder... Like, Cyclops isn't blowing guys' heads off, but like, they're just trying to like fight their way out of this rally. And that's when like a taxi pulls up and Nightcrawler and Jean show up. And Jean tries to use his like powers to like calm down the rally. And at this point, Stryker's being like walked to a car because it's like, oh, it's getting too violent, Reverend Stryker. We gotta get you out of here. But
Reverend Stryker.
Strike while the iron is hot.
Is it spelt even funny too? Like, is it Stryker?
Yes! Yeah, it is.
He has such a fucking Mortal Kombat name, and I love it.
So
Stryker.
So like, yeah, like Nightcrawler and Jean get there because Jean is using her powers to calm everyone down. She's distracted, so the illusion around Nightcrawler goes away, which means all these like religious zealots see Nightcrawler turn into a demon.
Yeah.
And they're like, ah, get him!
Fucking takes them a second to put 2 and 2 together, and they're like, wait a second.
Wait a minute.
He's a devil!
Holds up photo of Satan.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
They got like the fucking graphs going around them.
Not to be confused with Super Devil. So
Oh, no, not Super Devil.
So like they chase after Nightcrawler. Stryker, who's being ushered into the car, looks back and he sees Nightcrawler and he goes, "My God, they even take his form," referring to Satan. So the X-Men are trying to get Nightcrawler away from the rally, but things escalate when the Brotherhood show up.
Oh boy,
we're here now, bitches.
Now blah 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 is here.
Charles. So this is where we get our X-Men Brotherhood fight.
He has all the ham.
Blob fights Colossus because Colossus is just punching a mush of a man. Beast fights Toad because I imagine they'd be jumping around a lot. That'd be kind of a cool fight. Pyro versus Storm, so that fire can be countered by like wind or water or whatever. What is it? Jean fights Polaris because Polaris can control like metal, and Jean is just has telekinesis.
Mm-hmm.
Then Cyclops versus Mystique. Now, during this big fight between both teams, Scott tells Nightcrawler to get away because he doesn't have a lot of fighting experience. But Nightcrawler looks at Mystique, and Mystique looks back at him, and they both have blue skin and yellow eyes. And Kurt is like, kind of like,
You're my mom!
but Kurt is like, intrigued by Mystique, and...
I mean, what straight male is not intrigued by Mystique? Come on.
I know I am, because I'm super not gay. I hate every
that
dick.
makeup?
God, that's gonna fucking go with me for the rest of my life.
Remember that?
So, like, Kurt is, like, not being walked out, and, like, Blob blindsides Kurt and almost belly flops on him.
Oh.
But Cyclops, like, using all of his strength, lifts Blob.
Mm-hmm.
But, it really throws out Cyclops' back. But, the fight starts to, like, end when tear gas is thrown in by the police. So, both the Brotherhood and the X-Men are escaping. But Nightcrawler looks over to Mystique again, and she's like, 8 o'clock, here. And then she leaves.
Yeah.
So, we cut back to the mansion that night.
No, Mom!
Ma'am? Ma'am? We come back to the mansion where Cyclops is like is telling the professor that he doesn't think Nightcrawler's ready to be on the X-Men and that Scott can't cover for him every time.
Yeah.
And Charles is like, listen, everyone is new once, okay? And if you got to know Nightcrawler, maybe you guys would work better together. And, again, Scott brings up the fact that, you should have interrupted my honeymoon, but Charles is over that. And Charles is also like, well, listen, tomorrow I'm attending another thing. I have to go to Stryker's sermon tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Scott is like, why would you do that?
Yeah.
That guy hates mutants. All his followers hate mutants. And Charles is like, listen, the first step to peace is being able to look past, other people's opinions. He's offering me a chance to talk to people who have only seen us through one light.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to give mutants a better reputation with certain people.
Yeah.
And Scott is like, I still don't like it. And Xavier's like, come on,
He invited me!
I'll have Forge with me.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm Charles Xavier.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, but I'm the most powerful mutant on Earth.
Yeah, he just...
So, later that night, it's like 8 or 9, it's like 8 o'clock, Nightcrawler's attempting to sneak out of the mansion. So because he's like too much of a polite person, he's not like jumping out a window or pantsing out.
Yeah.
He's like going through the front door, because he's never snuck out of a house before. So he's just gonna leave, because he's like, I guess I can like leave, right?
Yeah, I guess I'm out.
And as he's getting out, like, Logan walks into the main hallway.
Yeah. Logan looks at him. You sneaking out? Yeah. Alright, be back before dawn.
Logan literally is
It's
just in like a wife beater and jeans, and he walks out, he's got a beer, and yeah, it's basically that. He's like, he's sneaking out, and Kurt's like, I was gonna try, and Logan goes over to a closet and pulls out like a trench coat and a hat.
Yeah.
He's like, here.
You'll need this.
You don't have Jean to dress you up, so.
Yeah.
And he's like, thanks, and Logan's like, whatever.
Yeah, he's like, you're 23, I don't care.
And he walks off, yeah. And then Nightcrawler is like, he's about to cross the gate that's like in front of the school and like leave.
Yeah.
And as he gets to the gate, he sees Charles like down on the ground, like in his chair.
He's fucking dead.
He's not dead. He's in Nightcrawler's head, appearing like he's there. And he's like, listen, Kurt.
I can walk in your head. This is rad.
Look at me go.
I can fly. I have unlimited power.
I have hair.
I have hair.
A mane of red hair.
It's just like Fabio, like fucking. How is it flowing? Oh, I'm doing this.
Kurt is like, why do you look like that? And he's like, what? I'm in your head. And he's like, I feel like it's not me who's doing this, Charles.
Yeah.
I feel like it's not me.
What are you talking about?
Who gave you the ability to walk and gave you a bunch of hair. What do you mean? He's like on a horse. Like, what? This is your imagination?
Fucking, it's just his head and like Terry Crews' body. He's just, why are you like that from the neck down? And he's just like what?
Your thoughts? Are you gay?
Your thoughts?
What are you, gay? Listen,
What are you, racist?
I'll accept mutants, but if you're gay,
Yeah, Iceman. He's on thin ice.
he's
if you know
on
what I
thin
mean.
ice. So he's there, and Charles is like, listen, Kurt, you shouldn't sneak out. If you need to leave, you should have talked to me first.
Yeah.
And Kurt is like,
I'm off to go see my mom.
this is something I have to do. Like, there's someone I have to talk to, And Charles is like, listen, Mystique is dangerous. And Nightcrawler's like, I don't remember giving you.
No.
I don't remember giving you permission to look through my thoughts. And Charles is like, I didn't. Cyclops told me what happened.
Yeah.
And I never want you to assume, or anyone else in this building to assume, that I'm going to read your mind without any consent. I'm just here to tell you that if you do this, there's a chance you could be hurt.
You can't go back, yeah.
You could be hurt. A door will always be open here for you, Kurt, but I want you to know that this is better. But Kurt leaves anyway, and we cut to the coffee shop. What?
You just see Xavier. Fuck! Turn the blue filter on again.
The blue filter.
What about Beast this time? He'll know.
He'll know. So we cut to
Have
this.
you seen that guy's feet? Hilarious!
I love my fucking carnival freaks.
I made him do my algebra.
An angel and a devil.
Fucking nerd.
It's like having all three starters.
I have a Sasquatch, an angel, and a devil.
So we cut to that pizza place from before, where like Kurt is kind of just sitting there. He's got some water, he's just looking around, and a woman sits down across from him. And obviously it's Mystique, and she chose a form where it's just Mystique, but she has normal skin. And she dumps it on him. She's like, I'm your mom. And he's like, why did you leave me? Like, I was raised by the circus. I was attacked in Germany by villagers. Like, why weren't you...
Why don't you have an accent?
Yeah, why weren't you there for me? And she's like, I didn't think I was good enough to be a mother. And listen, I believe in the Brotherhood's beliefs, so I think you should join us. Because, you know, I know you haven't seen as much of the world as I have. I've seen mutants get collared and killed and tested on. You know, we have to rise first.
Stormy.
Oh, no. Don't do that.
Why was it fucking left out? Anyways.
So,
I don't think the cats were good for it.
Cleaning spray. The cats are going for cleaning spray. Context. So, Mystique is also like, she's spied on Stryker. She knows what Stryker's actually up to. And she'll only tell Nightcrawler if he, like, joins the Brotherhood. And Nightcrawler is like, listen, I'm not going to betray the X-Men. Because, you know, I don't know what you saw.
Fucking does the Wakanda thing.
Wakanda. But he's like,
forever.
Yeah. He's like, listen, people are afraid of the way I look. Yes. But the circus people that raised me were people. Were humans. I know there's good people out there. And, you know, and he's also like, if people can accept Norse gods being real, if me, a Catholic, can accept Thor existing, then I think people can accept mutants one day. And Mystique is just like, how
fucking naive kid.
Pathetic.
Pathetic.
But she stands up and she apologizes for Blob almost crushing him. She'll slap him around later. And Kurt is like, wait, before you leave, what was my father like? And Mystique just looks at him and she goes, he was a bastard. And she leaves. So Kurt walks out. Well, Kurt picks up a napkin that she wrote on first. And then he runs out into the street and she's gone. And, you know, he's looking around for her. Someone bumps into him. His hat comes off. People are like, oh, wow, weird, a devil. Strange. That's quite queer, isn't it?
They're just in the 1940s now.
How queer. Yes. But people are like, oh, man, what the fuck? And he starts running away from these crowds of people. He's running, he's bamfing, and he's just going and going until he bamfs into a park and he hits a tree. He's like, bamf, pff, ah! And as he's looking up, he notices that, like, from every direction, there's, like, a person, like walking towards him in like, military gear. And the purifiers are there. And they tracked Nightcrawler down to this park, and they're all closing in. And he's like, oh, no. And, he's getting ready to fight them. And then out of nowhere, a beam just hits one of them in the head. He's like, what? And then,
what color is the beam?
It's red. And then another one hits someone's foot.
Blob.
Another beam hits some guy's foot, and he falls over. And then, like, in the distance, like, silhouetted by the darkness, all you see is Cyclops' red visor.
Neat.
Just walking in slowly. And, like, I really want to see Cyclops do, like martial arts mixed with this power. So, like, he's doing, like, a punch here, but then he's shooting someone's foot, catching them off guard, catching them up on an uppercut. Like, just really combine those two elements of Cyclops' abilities. And
He's like Daredevil with eye lasers.
Yeah, he's like the opposite of blind. He can see too well.
He can see too well that it kills things.
Yeah, it kills things.
He's so awesome.
The other purifiers run away, but one of them is like still there and kind of like knocked out. So Cyclops like knocks him out, or I guess kidnap. They kidnap one of the purifiers, and like a van pulls up, and like Forge is driving. He's like, get him. Forge is very soft spoken on this. And Nightcrawler is like, come on, we gotta get back to the mansion. Or Cyclops is like that to Nightcrawler. Back in Nightcrawler's room, he's like praying at his bed, and Scott walks in. And Scott's like, listen, I'm sorry for treating you harshly. I know you're new, and I know I could be a little stuck up, and I know I need a sense of humor, but
and I know a list of problems that everyone has with him.
Yeah, exactly. But like, I need you around. Because you have a talent, and I want to see you progress. And Nightcrawler's like, hey, do you want to pray with me? Hey, man, do you want to pray?
You got any more of them prayer books?
And Cyclops is like, I'm not very religious, but I'll give you a rain check on that. And Nightcrawler's like, so how'd you find me at the park and everything? And Scott is like, well, here, why don't you come with me, and I'll show you how we found you. We cut to an interrogation room. Where one of the purifiers, who I just kind of named Bill, is like sitting in the chair, and sitting across from him is Colossus.
Oh,
and Colossus, and it's like a single light hanging down.
Yeah.
And Colossus is like,
tell me, friend, why you kill people?
Colossus is trying to be a good host. He doesn't want to hurt or scare Bill. He just wants to talk. He just wants answers.
So is the iron thing on? Oh wait, can Colossus turn it off?
He can turn it off and on. Yeah.
Okay.
I'd say it's off right now because he doesn't want to scare Bill.
Yeah.
But Bill is always like, I would have talked to a dirty mutie like you anyway.
And he's like, I am not mutant.
Racist remark.
Yeah.
But then...
You fucking trog. Starfire.
But walking out of the shadows is Logan. And his wife beater and
the old
and
good
jeans.
cop, bad cop.
He walks in, and he's standing there, and Bill's like, who are you? And Colossus goes, he is the gym teacher.
He is Bub.
He is the gym teacher. And Peter tells Bill, he has this whole bit where Colossus is like, listen, we have 2 telepaths who could read your mind and learn everything about the purifiers from you right now. And then Logan puts his hand on the table. We have 3 certified geniuses who create a truth serum or a lie detector to get you to tell us what we have to know. 1 claw pops out of Logan's hand. Colossus admits that, I was with the KGB. I was trained in body language and interrogation. I could probably get you to say what I want you to say. 2nd claw comes out of Wolverine's hand. And then Colossus goes, but we only have 1 Wolverine. 3rd claw comes out, and Colossus leans in, he goes, and he doesn't get to play as often as he'd like to. So then we cut to another room where Cerebro is being held. Mm-hmm. So we get the little interrogation scene. That was fun.
We only have 1 Wolverine.
And he doesn't get to play as much as he'd like to.
He don't get to play.
The claws ticking.
Yeah. He's kind of a dick.
I'm sitting right here. Yes, I know. What are you going to do, cut to me?
Dummy. Blade weapons don't work.
So,
you have to crush me.
Crush me. Like Mother Russia. So Scott, walks Kurt down to the room with Cerebro. Mm-hmm. And Jean is there, taking Cerebro off and, cleaning up, basically. And Scott is like, it's a supercomputer that is powered by telepathic powers. Jean and Xavier use it to find mutants. And Kurt is looking at it and he goes, wow, why aren't you guys, out grabbing mutants around the clock if you have this kind of technology? And Jean is like, Cerebro can cause some mental strain over time. We think that might be the cause of Xavier's, Mm-hmm. And Kurt is like him, his hair loss? And they're like, no, him being crippled. He's like,
no, you dumbass.
No, you dumb fuck.
just gets, super fucking,
really brutal. This guy is like, we think it's because I didn't really know how to make this joke kind of work. I like the idea that it made his hair fall out, but him getting crippled because of Cerebro's power might also be a good use.
Yeah.
One or the other. But, yes, Nightcrawler just basically talks about how, coming to this school, I didn't ask for it, a lot, because Gina's also and sometimes when we find a mutant, they don't want to come to the school. Mm-hmm. And Nightcrawler's like, I never asked to come to the school, but I always dreamed to be in a place like this. And he also tells Scott and Jean that Mystique is his mother. His father was apparently a bastard, and he doesn't really know how to feel about it. Mm-hmm. So Jean and Scott just kind of comfort Nightcrawler. They put a hand on his shoulder, tell him, you're with us, everything's gonna be okay. Mm-hmm. Or will it? Next morning, Jean is like walking Bill to an Uber driver, and Bill is like under like a psychic trance, like mm-hmm. And he gets in the car, and the Uber driver's like, "Is he all right?" And Jean's like, "Yeah, he's fine. He'll pay you when you
recover.
Yeah, he'll pay you when you get him home." And of course, the Uber driver's driving away. He's like, "Weird mutants." And that would be the perfect time for like some kind of like Chris Claremont can cameo there or something. Mm-hmm. But they the Uber driver drives Bill off, and Professor X and Forge are getting ready to leave. And Scott is like, "Hey, Charles, why did you let Kurt see Mystique? Like, and did you know like she was his mother? And like, why? Why would you let him see her? You know the risk." And Xavier's not standing there, but he's sitting there and he's looking at Scott and he goes, "Do you remember why we invited Angel's father over for dinner that one time?" And Cyclops is like, so the Angel could tell his dad that he was a mutant. And he's like, "That's right. And do you remember that one day we had Storm crawl through some of those plastic tunnels at Chuck E. Cheese?" And Cyclops is like, "So she could tackle her claustrophobia." And Charles is like, "So then you know that some lessons can't be taught in a classroom. Some experiences don't come from battle. Some things we have to deal with head on. Mm-hmm. And for a guy who can only shoot straight, I think you should know that better than anyone."
You seen the fucking Omega beams?
So, also at this point, Anna, who is Stryker's assistant, shows up at the mansion to pick up Forge and Xavier. And the X-Men don't see it, but we do. She leaves some kind of little metal device, like, under a plant or something. Mm-hmm. So, suspicious.
Suspicious.
Meanwhile, the X-Men visit a warehouse that they found, like, Bill said, like, the Purifiers have this warehouse where, we keep our stuff. Mm-hmm. So, the X-Men go to the warehouse, and it's completely empty. And Beast is like, well, if the other Purifiers saw Bill leave with Cyclops, then they probably would have guessed that we would interrogate and find out about this warehouse, which is why they cleaned it out. So as they're looking around, Jean's telepathy is picking up a faint thought. So, spelled T-H-O-T. So they find like a hidden room, like behind some secret door or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they go down there, and in this underground room, they find a bunch of cages. And in these cages are 4 mutant children.
Interesting.
Unfed, afraid, some are too weak to move. One of them is healthy enough to at least reach out a hand. Mm-hmm. So they open the cages. They open the cages, and they help one of the girls out. And this girl is a character called Pixie. And she's like 13, she's a mutant, she has pixie wings. Mm-hmm. But because of the way the Purifiers have treated her, her wings, they would have been flickering and beautiful and nice to look at. But now they're dirty, they're cracked, and they're covered in blood.
Ew. Yeah.
And, these other X-Men are looking over the girl, and they're looking at the other cages to help out the mutants.
It's like that really shitty babysitters.
Yeah. It's like Vicky babysitted these kids. But, all the X-Men are helping these kids out. Kurt is looking on in horror, and Jean is, trying to turn him away. But when he turns, all he sees is Cyclops standing in the doorway, looking at all this. And, I don't know how you convey this. Maybe Jean is reading Nightcrawler's mind, and they're having, a psychic conversation. But Nightcrawler is basically, behind that visor might have been a tear, mm-hmm. evaporated by the rage behind his eyes. And it's just straight-faced Cyclops just looking very upset at what he's seeing.
He is upsettled.
He is very upsettled. He is meddled.
He is mettled.
I have been nettled. After this, all the X-Men are kind of dealing with what happened in a different way. Storm and Nightcrawler are at the hospital where the injured kids are being looked at. And they're talking, and Nightcrawler's like, "Hey, listen, Mystique is my mom." And
he's just, what?
and he's like, I would never agree with what Mystique believes in, but after today, I get it. Mm-hmm. I completely get it. Jean Grey is at the school, and she has the teachers and the students in a room, and she's telling them what they found at the warehouse, and just tells them to be safe when they're out there on the streets by themselves. Mm-hmm. Not to travel alone, obviously. Colossus is with his younger sister Ileana. Now, she's a character that would be brought up in like the teenager like TV show companion piece to this.
Mhm.
Ileana is like 12. Her mutant powers haven't sparked yet, and some of the people in the show or the movies would think that maybe she's not going to be a mutant at all. Maybe she's just human.
Mhm.
But she's Colossus' little sister. She will later on become Magic, the character, not the card game, and Colossus and Ileana are just like drawing because Colossus, it's not really shown in the movies, is artistic. He's a painter.
Mhm.
So the two of them are drawing together, just spending time together. Obviously, he'd want to after seeing kids like be treated that way. Beast is in his lab, and he's got like he's typing emails with his two hands, and he's got a phone up to his head with one of his foot hands, and he's basically calling and emailing the parents of these mutant children to let them know what happened. And then Scott, we see him in the danger room, and he's fighting combat robots. And he's just fighting them hard.
Mm-hmm.
Because, he's getting his rage out one way or the other. And he's, like, breaking the robots. And Logan walks in, and he's there for his workout. And Logan is like...
What's up, kid?
Scott. And they're equals,
Mm-hmm.
basically. I'm not doing the, oh, man, they hate each other because they both want to fuck Jean. They're equals. But Logan walks in, and he's like, you can't break the robots. Like, Forge will get mad if you break the robots. The only person the Forge won't yell at for breaking the robots is me.
Mm-hmm.
And so the two of them have a spar. And Cyclops is getting knocked to the ground every time by Logan because Cyclops' anger is leading him.
Mm-hmm.
So Cyclops takes a breath, he stems his anger,
Kill you.
he contains his rage, and they fight again, and this time Logan is knocked to the ground.
Contain the range.
Despite all his rage, he's still just a mutant in a cage.
The Cyclops.
In a cage.
Sparring against a thing.
And the two are interrupted by Jean, who comes downstairs, and she's like, guys, you need to come upstairs. They come upstairs, and they see that on the news, Professor Charles Xavier and his assistant John Forge have been kidnapped by the Purifiers, soon after the invitation turned roast at Stryker's sermon. Suspicious. So Scott and Jean summon the X-Men and get down to Cerebro to see if they can find out where Charles was taken.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's taken. Took it.
It's tooken.
So Charles wakes up in a murky basement, and there's television screens and armed men walking around. Anna is there, and she has a collar put around Charles' neck. And she explains that the collar has a lethal injections in it that will kill Charles on command. And she's like, if me or any of my men feel so much as a migraine, you're dead.
What if one guy is very susceptible
Yeah, what
to
if one
migraines?
guy just gets a fucking migraine?
Well, it's tough titties.
Tough titties. And you don't want your titties being tough.
No, you don't. And Anna's also like, but because I know you're Professor X and you're selfless, I put the same device on Forge, so we have him as a hostage as well.
By the way, we have your driver.
Yeah.
Shit.
Fuck that Forge, I need him. He cleans my
But,
poops. Charles wants to know what the Purifiers want, and that's when Stryker comes down the stairs. He's like, "What do I want? I want to cleanse
Tell me
man."
what you want, what you really want, I'll tell you what I want, whatever you want.
He comes down the stairs. I wanna kill all the mutants. Oh. But Stryker's like, I wanna clean mankind of your kind, of the shackles of sin like you.
I mean, we're really pretty clean people, so...
He wants to get rid of the mutants, is what he wants, and he's gonna need Charles's help to make that dream possible.
Using a filthy mutie. Get rid of all those other filthy muties.
Filthy mutie.
Two birds, one other bird.
We can't have a stone because some mutants use stones.
Fire beats fire.
Beats
That's just more fire.
It's just more fire. I don't care.
Oh,
Yeah, but ours is a superior fire.
Bible metaphors. In the Cerebro part of the mansion, Jean is trying to fight Charles, but something in the house is blocking Cerebro's signal. So, Cyclops immediately like, Anna, maybe she left something behind that blocks Cerebro's signal.
It's the fucking sniper from Overwatch.
Anna, stop. But yeah, so the X-Men search the house with a bug while Nightcrawler sneaks out again. And this time, he sneaks out better. He goes out the back door.
Oh, I thought he was going to boomf out.
Sure. So, he's good at sneaking now. But yeah, Stryker...
I can use my power. Right.
So Stryker is talking to Xavier, and he's like, yeah, I got files on your device, Cerebro, from the government. No need to tell you where I got those from. My secret source. And listen, I I built my own Cerebro.
Right. Peter Dinklage.
I built my own Cerebro that's a bit smaller, but I need your buddy Forge to put on the final touches. I know he made the other one. And Charles is like, listen, you can't kill all mutants because we're people. We're
Forge
humans.
won't do shit for you. Forge, cyanide pill, go.
You got it.
Forge, remember what we talked about? No.
What did we? No, I don't. What are we talking
You know,
Xavier's just like, Forge won't do that. Forge, kick his ass. Forge's like, whoa.
Dude, no.
guy, I just make cool little like.
Stryker's like, I got all these purifiers. Like, whatever. Forge will kick all their asses.
Forge, kill them.
Yep.
What is Forge's power again? Can he just make anything?
He's really smart.
Okay.
That's his power.
That's his power.
Something anyone can do.
He's just a smart boy. He's not actually a mutant. He's just smart.
You know what?
Forge, remember what we talked about? The attack toaster? No!
I like the idea of making Forge a human in this universe because it enforces the human mutant relations.
Ew.
You know what I mean? The
Fucking
the relation they have
human
together.
Relations.
Fucking muties.
Literally.
So
Fucking mutie.
so Charles is like, hey, stop being a bad guy. And Stryker's like, no. And Stryker's like,
Please?
but Stryker is also like, listen, I believe that mutants are just the worst part of man. And Stryker is also like, listen, if you want some kind of in-depth analysis of what I think, get inside my head, and I'll show you what I think. So Xavier goes inside Stryker's
Ow, I
head.
got a migraine.
He looks at Forge. You saw the consent.
You saw the consent. Doing it. So
I'm going in.
so Charles goes inside of Stryker's head, and this is where we get a little bit of Stryker's origin story. Charles finds himself in the back seat of a car. Sitting next to him is a teenage boy listening to some music, and in the front seat is a younger William Stryker and his wife.
William Shatner.
And they're driving over a bridge, and it's during a really bad snowstorm.
The bridge was a mutant.
And Stryker is arguing with his wife about going out tonight and how dangerous it is. And Stryker is so distracted, arguing with his wife, he doesn't see the truck that swerves and hits his car
in the middle of the road.
Oh no, I hit a guy. Oh wait, it's a mutant.
Oh, wait,
it's not a real
mutant.
person.
Well, it looks like I gotta be fucking racist.
But basically a truck hits their car. Again, the ice makes it slippery, and the car goes off the bridge. And as it's falling, William's wife, her arms turn into tentacles, and they stretch out and they grab the bridge.
Whoa, okay.
Yeah, and Stryker's surprised, looking at his wife what the devil? And the wife is holding on to the bridge, trying to keep them up. And the bridge railing is starting to break, and their car is gonna fall. So then the son in the back seat reaches out an arm, and his arms become tentacles, and they also reach up and grab the bridge.
And instantly he knew my mission is to kill all mutants.
So they're not strong enough to keep the car up. So the railing breaks off and the car falls into the frozen water beneath. And as the car is sinking, Stryker looks over at his wife, whose head is bashed by the car, and so she's dead.
Yeah.
And he opens the car door and he goes to crawl out, and his son, who's still half conscious, puts out his tentacle onto William's leg.
Oh.
And the son is like, Dad?
Fucking Bill Stryker.
Dad? And Will is looking at his son, the tentacle arms, and maybe their eyes are weird, goat eyes or something.
Are they Morlocks?
No, they're mutants. Morlocks aren't a thing yet during this time period. But the son reaches out to his dad with his tentacle, and Stryker just kicks the tentacle off, escapes the car, and lets his wife and son drown as he escapes the water. And, again, the whole time Xavier is psychically in the car when this is all happening.
It's just sitting in the car. Shit. This is a nice car.
Yeah.
This is a nice interior. What is it, German?
And then Professor X
got one of those little German kids.
Professor X is
He
on
fucking poofs everywhere.
Professor X is on the shore in his chair, watching as Stryker crawls out of the water and gets onto the shore.
He can't even make himself walk inside someone else's head. He's just in the chair. Oh shit, this thing doesn't work well in the sand.
Makes more.
Stryker.
Makes more sense. He's standing.
No,
Whatever.
no. I'm just saying it's
I
funny.
know, it's funny. It's a funny idea. But he gets out of the water and he crawls out, and what is it? Professor X is like, I don't understand. Your family were mutants, and you hate them? I don't get it. And Stryker is like, that day I had a religious reawakening. Because Stryker looks into the sky, and the snowstorm clears up. And Stryker is like, it wasn't the car that killed my family. It
was
God.
God.
It wasn't the slide, and it wasn't the water. It was God.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these people who I trusted, these people who are my family, hid their deformities from me. And because they were liars and they hid from me, God chose to punish them. Yeah, God punished them, and He left me alive. He left me alive to decide, so I could continue His mission of wiping your kind off the earth. So that's
You ever just walk up to like the president and tell him, "I'm gonna wipe your kind off this planet"? Like that's what he just did.
Yep. So
the president of Mutant Land.
So Stryker is gonna finish what God started.
God started.
We cut back to Nightcrawler.
Listen here, cuck.
Listen,
CCTV told me that mutants are dumb.
And mutants are trying to kill my NASCAR.
According to Fox News. That works
It's
too,
just
because
some
they were
fat
owned by Fox.
Hillbilly guy with 2 shotguns riding on an eagle.
Can't take my guns. Can't take my incest. So Nightcrawler, we cut to him, and he's at this abandoned hospital. And he pulls out the napkin from the Mystique gave him with the written address of this abandoned hospital. And he's like behind some bushes, and he's about to like sneak in. And then behind him, Storm is like, "So what's your plan?" And Nightcrawler's like, "What the? What?
Stop doing that!
What? How did you follow me?" And Storm's like, "I can fly."
We have a jet. Yeah.
Well, Storm is just like, "I can fly. I saw you sneak out, so I followed you." And he's like, "All right." And she's like, "Listen, we shouldn't go inside. Like Mystique, like the Brotherhood, they're not gonna like treat us well."
Yeah.
But Kurt is like, "I know that Mystique knows about."
Mom is in there.
Kurt is like, "Stryker has to be behind this. I know Mystique knows what Stryker's been up to, so we have to go talk to her." So Storm is like, "All right, well, I'm going in with you. I'm going to back you up on this." So Storm and Nightcrawler go inside the abandoned hospital, and they are surprise attacked by Pyro, Blob, and Toad.
Now, Pyro's the one that can't make fire. He can just control fire, right?
Yes. So
What
usually,
a fucking like, yeah,
carries
he has like
lighters.
butane tank and
Yeah.
stuff under his arm.
yeah,
But it's just like, man, that's gotta suck.
yeah,
Especially when you have like Sunspot running around.
yeah,
It's just,
yeah.
you're just like the the RC Cola version of fucking. Like,
all you do is remind people about one of the worst parts about that Avatar movie.
Yeah.
So they walk in and they're attacked by the Brotherhood, and like Kurt is like teleporting around, but like Blob and Toad are like, you know, Blob, Toad, and Pyro are all
The
attacking.
goats.
Yeah, they're all attacking where he's porting to. So
The
like
Fearful 3.
the boys. But yeah, they're
Led by Bite!
they're beating the shit out of Nightcrawler. Storm is about to help, but she's knocked to the ground by like one of those metal like gurney chair things that like you wheel people in on. It's thrown at her head by Polaris, and like Polaris is like, "Who invited you to?" And Mystique comes out of a corner and she's like, "I did, Polaris."
I did, motherfuckers.
And Kurt is like, "Listen, Mystique, you need to help us. All right, I think Professor X was kidnapped by Stryker, and we need your help to find out where he is and what he's doing."
Hang on, I'll ask the boss. Looks at Toad. No.
and
Think we
Mystique,
trust him?
Mystique is like, "I'm not gonna help you save Professor X and Forge." And he's like, "Why?" And she's like, "Because they'll make the perfect martyrs, Kurt. Because their death will signify that we need to rise." And Polaris is like, "Yeah, and with them dead, maybe some of your brain dead students will join us."
Ooh.
And Storm like flips out at this
Yeah.
because she loves the kids, and
She's one of them kid lovers.
she's a
hang on.
she's a natural mother to all.
Yeah.
She
We can't call her a kid lover.
no can't call her
Just
that.
can't do that.
No, pedophiles ruin that.
For a
everyone.
lover of all children. Wait.
So Storm uses whirlwinds to push Pyro and Toad out of the windows.
Mm-hmm.
She freezes. She uses like flash freezing to freeze the ground under Blob. So the floor just gives out and he falls through. It's like, "Ha! You missed me! Oh!
You missed me, fuck.
Oh
I don't
no!"
understand basic strategy.
And Polaris tries to create like an electromagnetic shock.
Magnetic?
You know,
Yes.
the thing. She creates a shock.
No!
The thing that Magneto does in the video games. But Polaris tries to throw.
Squeeze.
Yeah.
Gravity
Polaris
squeeze.
goes to throw a shockwave at Storm, and Storm catches the electrical bolts in her hands, And Storm looks up, and again, she has white eyes, like, through this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, "You may be his offspring, but you are no master of magnetism, child." And she blasts Polaris through a wall.
What a dick.
And Storm is using the wind in the room to, like, suck the oxygen out around Mystique.
Mm-hmm.
So Mystique is, like, gasping for air.
Just dying.
Yeah. And Mystique, and Kurt is like, "Storm, you have to stop. Please, you have to stop. She's my mother. She's my mother, Storm."
Mm-hmm.
And Storm stops, and she apologizes. And Kurt goes over to Mystique, and he's like, "You told me that you left me when I was a child because you didn't think you deserved to be my mother. Now's your chance to try."
Mm-hmm.
So, we cut back to the dingy-ass basement where Forge finishes making Cerebro, like the mini Cerebro. And Stryker, like, puts the mini Cerebro on Xavier's head. And Stryker's also on the phone. Or actually, Anna puts on the helmet and Stryker's on the phone. And Stryker's confirming that the package, in quotations, is nearing their location in a truck.
Mm-hmm.
The
package being Forge and Xavier.
No. But, like, yeah, in this basement, Charles is, like, talking to Anna, and he's, like, not reading her mind, but trying to get a fix on her. Because, he's met many people, he's been a teacher for many years. He knows that Anna's hiding something from Stryker.
She's a mutant. Just taking a guess. But yeah.
Hold on.
Yep.
Sorry. Hold on. Okay, I'm good.
It's all good.
Is it?
No.
Is it? Xavier is gonna be a hostage? Nothing's good. But yeah, Anna's hiding something. And Anna just, brushes Charles off. She's like, don't talk to me, you weird old man in the chair.
Wow.
He's like,
You fucking mutie. She calls him a fucking mutie.
She's like, how many times does 60 go into 27? I don't know. I'll show you later.
Damn it. God damn it. But Stryker walks in, and again, he puts the device on Charles' head. And Charles is like, I'm going to refuse to help you. I'm not going to use my powers to help you. And Stryker laughs, and he's like, "Oh, that's the best part, Chuck. You don't have to do a damn thing."
Chuck.
Yeah.
Calls him Chuck.
Calls him Chuck.
Right there, I would turn his fucking brain to mush.
No, but it's almost a migraine, so...
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
So, Storm, Nightcrawler, and the Brotherhood are riding on a flying bus that Polaris is lifting through the air.
Rad.
And Nightcrawler's on the... Or Storm...
Where are we dropping, boys?
And Storm is on her phone, like, telling Cyclops, like, we need to meet outside of Stryker's building. Because, of course, someone as smug as Stryker would use his own home as, he would run his whole operation under the place he sleeps, shits, and praises the Lord.
Yeah.
Is Storm's line. And the X-Men, we see them pull up in their van, their X-Man.
X-Man.
They pull up outside of Stryker's building, but immediately out of the main floor, the purifiers, come out.
Yeah.
And there's also a truck there, like a big semi-truck with something going on. But the purifiers are well armed, and they're ready to fight the X-Men. Inside, Charles can't use his telepathy powers while this device is on him, because it's essentially funneling all his psychic energy into a mutant GPS.
GPS.
Yeah. MPS, you can call it. Anna and Stryker,
positioning system.
Yeah, Anna and Stryker go back upstairs to go prepare for Stryker's TV appearance. But they leave, a security detail of purifiers down there with Forge and Charles. And Charles just kind of looks over at Forge and, nods. And Forge stands up. And by the way, through the whole movie, Forge has been pretty quiet. Mm-hmm. Forge stands up, and, these purifiers are like, "What are you going to do, man, huh? Huh? You're not even a mutie. What are you going to do?" And Forge pulls off skin from his hand.
Oh.
Basically from his elbow to his hand. Mm-hmm. And it's all cybernetic. He's got, a Terminator thing going on. And he pulls off the skin, revealing the cybernetic arm. And the men just stop laughing. They're like, "Oh." And we cut away from that. So, Cyclops, Jean, Colossus, and Beast are trying to fight off the purifiers with their weapons.
Yeah.
But again, they have heavy-duty weapons. They kind of have, the van-mounted cannon that, the Sable guys have in the Spider-Man game.
Yeah.
And the fight's looking pretty bad. But then Polaris drops a bus on the the purifiers' van.
And that's the one Fortnite reference we get?
Yeah, I guess so. And so Nightcrawler and Storm join the X-Men. The Brotherhood quickly ditch the X-Men.
Yeah.
And
of course they do.
Yeah, and Scott's like, "Looks like your mother abandoned you again."
Again.
Yeah.
Don't let him rub it in.
Salt in the wound, man. So
when will you learn?
So we go back inside, and Stryker's like doing some book signings before the TV appearance.
Yeah.
Because of course he has books. And Anna like whispers to Stryker like, "Listen, the fight outside is getting pretty bad. The men are demanding some kind of backup." And by the way, the book that Stryker wrote is called
Mutants and You. No.
God Loves, Man Kills.
Yeah.
It's really on the nose with that reference.
Yeah.
But Stryker is like, all right, and he picks up his phone and he calls Trask and he goes, "Unleash the Sentinel." So the X-Men are turning the battle around with the purifiers, but then out of that nearby truck, it bursts open and a 20-foot tall robot comes out, and he's purple and he's blue.
Thank fucking God. Sorry.
God loves, man kills.
God loves, man kills.
Thank fucking God loves, man kills. But it looks down on the X-Men. But we also see that in the Sentinel's head, it has like the MPS system. Like that's the thing that Charles is giving this robot. And it detects that there are other mutants
nearby
in the building that like where Stryker is going up the stairs.
Oh, okay.
So we cut to inside where like the Brotherhood are making their way up the stairs to get to the sermon.
Yeah.
And Blob, of course, is like, I don't understand why we just couldn't take the elevator. And Toad's like, because you would weigh us down. But they're...
You're gonna be a dick about it, Toad. You have fucking weird feet.
Yeah, well, fuck you, you're fat. Shut up.
Hey.
I'm sensitive about that. Jew? I don't know.
Whoa!
Blob can be racist. What?
I'm not denying that it probably is, but...
But Polaris is also like, Mystique, I think we should have at least stayed and killed a few purifiers.
Mm-hmm.
And Mystique is like, no, we're going to kill Stryker on TV. That will send a message. And Blob isn't really keeping up to the rest of the group on the stairs because of his weight.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Sentinel's arm goes through the building and grabs Blob.
Oh.
And the Sentinel throws Blob through several buildings.
The immovable blob
Gets moved.
got moved.
And again, you could have, the earlier scene where Blob is telling Scott, like, what, you gonna move me? I'm immovable.
Yeah.
And then, like, Scott sees the Sentinel throw Blob.
Yeah, he just...
And Scott is just like, well, alright. So much for that.
Yeah.
And, like, because of the Sentinel putting his hand through the building, some of the debris comes down.
Yeah.
And it separates Toad and Pyro from Mystique and Polaris.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, obviously up higher, as people are funneling to they're all going into the room so that the sermon can start.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, an old lady, like, feels the building shake, and she's like, oh, what's that? And Stryker's like,
It's God's will!
that is Satan trying to scare you away from the truth. Everyone's like, oh, bless you, Stryker! You totally trustworthy man.
Looks at the fucking Sentinel. It's an archangel!
So, because, see?
See?
God works in mysterious ways.
Yeah. It's a God machine.
God machine, yep. Deus ex machina.
This is a machina, son.
It's in the Bible. So Mystique, like, when they see the Sentinel grabbing and shit and messing with the building, Mystique looks at Polaris and goes, call him. And then Mystique, like, jumps out and jumps onto the Sentinel's back, and she uses her morphing powers to make her arms into big claws. Big claws. And she's trying to peel a panel off the back of the Sentinel's head, but her claws aren't strong enough. And the Sentinel's fighting the X-Men. The X-Men aren't doing enough because, they just don't have enough firepower. And Kurt is, like, yelling out, like, we aren't strong enough by ourselves. We can't beat this thing. And the Sentinel picks up the truck that it burst out of and goes to swing at the X-Men with it.
Yeah.
And then you hear, then it's a good thing you got backup. And then Iceman slides in on an ice, trail or whatever, and builds an ice wall to protect them from the truck.
Yeah.
And then as debris is flying out, Angel and Banshee fly in. They pick up civilians and fly them out of the area. For once the heroes are looking out for, civilians.
Yeah.
And Mystique is still trying to pull the panel off, but she can't get it off. And then Wolverine in full yellow costume drops on the back and goes, see you. And Wolverine pops his claws and he goes, mine are sharper. And he pulls off the panel with his claws, but instead of wires, it's all like circuit boards. And he goes to cut it, and Beast is like, don't. Like, he's on the ground, he's like,
we need that.
Logan, don't slice it up, you could make it worse. So, like, the Sentinel, it's still fighting them. Beast is like, if I get up there, maybe I could access the boards or whatever. So Cyclops is like, Nightcrawler, I need you to get Beast on top of the Sentinel. And before they can act, the what is it? Like Scott and Iceman provide cover, but the Sentinel shoots out 2 beams, and Kurt just barely dodges one of the beams.
Mm-hmm.
But Beast is hit by a beam, and he's nearly dead. So Kurt is like, "Oh my God, Beast!" And Mystique and Wolverine are knocked off. But Wolverine, when he falls, he yells out for Colossus, and Colossus picks him up and fastball specials Wolverine into the Sentinel.
Nice.
And it
Always need the fastball special.
would be a great moment, but it would also be interrupted because when he throws Wolverine, the Sentinel just like point blank laser blasts Wolverine, and he falls down as like a smoldering corpse. And of course, Nightcrawler sees this like, "Oh my God, Logan!"
And they're just like, it's normal.
Like Nightcrawler goes over and Logan gets back up, and Nightcrawler's like, "What?" And Logan's like, "I'm all right," and then just runs.
I'm good.
Heavy metal music stops.
That's the Ghostbusters. But like Iceman freezes the floor, and then Colossus knocks the robot down on its ass, but it's not done yet. It's just embarrassed.
Oh, I'm so embarrassed.
But the X-Men, they're fighting the Sentinel, and they can't, beat it. They're getting close, but it's like a big old raid battle. It's taking them too long.
Yeah.
But the fight kind of turns in their favor when part of the robot's like body starts to come off.
Yeah.
And another part, and we see floating down slowly is Magneto. And we do this thing where we don't focus too much on his face. He's kind of mysterious, kind of like dark and edgy.
Yeah.
Maybe mysterious is probably the better word for this.
Remember, he's like 60 years old. He doesn't have to be edgy.
Yeah, right.
But he's oddly like built.
He is oddly built. But he floats down, and the X-Men hold their breath, and Nightcrawler turns to Storm like, who's he supposed to be? And Storm looks back, and she repeats herself from earlier. She goes, "Bad people." So Magneto and Polaris start dismantling the robot, and Magneto looks over to Cyclops and just nods. And Cyclops is like, "All right, Angel, I need you to get Beast to a hospital." And Angel's like, "Got it." Flies him off. And then he has Iceman and Banshee go downstairs to find Charles and Forge.
Yeah.
And the rest of the team, including Wolverine now, go to confront Stryker in the sermon. And Mystique once again vanishes. So when Iceman and Banshee get down to the basement, all of the armed guards are beaten up, and Forge is just standing there like covered in their blood. Not drenched, but he's got a little bit of blood on him.
Yeah.
It's clear that he took out these guys, and Forge is like, "What took you guys so long?" And Iceman like freezes the device on Charles' head so it breaks off. They gotta get him out, but Charles is like, "Wait, I gotta contact Jean first." Whoop, 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 whoop.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
And Stryker's giving his sermon, and he informs his followers that but a few minutes ago, a giant made from the efforts of hard-working men like you and I slaughtered the world's most shameless mutants. The X-Men are dead. The Brotherhood are dead. And while we have no single man to thank, we have the Lord to worship.
What if Jesus was a mutant?
Yo, probably. Jesus was actually the first mutant.
Him and his J-men.
Him and his apostles, which were other mutants. But like the X-Men walk onto the stage, and everyone's like, and Stryker,
Bexmen!
and Stryker's like, "My God,
Who would have thought?
you're supposed to be dead." And basically, Charles sent a message to Jean, basically just telling her that Stryker's behind everything that happened. So Jean uses her powers to tell everyone in the audience, like, what Stryker's done. He's killed children. He's stolen from like military equipment. He runs the purifiers. He set up the whole situation to justify what he's been doing, and he's been scamming people.
Yeah.
Just revealing the truth to all these people. And, you have some people who are like, "I don't believe it. She's a dirty mutant. She's lying." And then some people are like, "Oh, no, that's all starting to line up. Why would they lie about this?" So, obviously the followers are dispersing or not dispersing, but they're discussing it amongst themselves. And Stryker's looking at his audience who are just judging it, and he, of course, being what he is, he just eats up the attention. He's like, "That's right, I, Reverend William Stryker, a man of God, and have single-handedly orchestrated a war on mutant kind. I slaughtered dozens. I challenge the intelligence of a man whose consciousness spat in the face of God, the only true voice in our heads. And he takes out the mutant tracking device from his robe, and he's like, and I did it with this, the innovative engineering of us, mankind. And he turns to the X-Men and he tries to turn it on, but it's not beeping correctly. Mm-hmm. And so he's like, damn, it's not working. So he looks over at Anna and he's like, Anna, make it work. I know, like, try to work
do
with
the thing.
Do the thing with the settings. I don't know what you do, but just I'm old and you're young, so make it work.
Yeah.
It's like a PC. And she picks it up, and it starts beeping, but she's pointing it at herself.
Oh. And
Stryker looks at her, and he goes, the whole time? And Anna goes,
in my own dojo.
and she goes, I can upgrade technology. I just thought I could help.
Uh-huh.
And Stryker pushes her off the podium, and she falls like 4 feet. Well, not 4 feet, maybe like 5 or 6 feet.
5,000 feet.
But she falls, and she's like, my head.
Oh, my head.
And it's at this point we have, like, the discussion. The epic discussion, the battle of words between Cyclops and Stryker.
Mm-hmm.
So Cyclops steps forward, and he's like, you had no idea mutant was working for you. I guess that goes to show how interchangeable my people are from yours. And he's like, you're not people. You're an insult to humanity. And Cyclops is like, humanity? Humanity, Stryker? Over the last 2 days, I have seen the darker shades of humanity than anyone in this room. In the last 25 years, I have seen the ugliest, pettiest, disgraceful shades of humanity you couldn't even stomach. And Stryker is like, I was a soldier, son.
Fuck you, Air Force!
I was in Korea or whatever.
Yeah.
I was a soldier. So you can bet I've seen horror. And I've seen it in boys who pretend to be angels.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen it in beasts who pretend to be scholars. And I see it in immigrants who pretend to be goddesses. And Cyclops is like, we're not horrors, Stryker, we're just people. Alright, we are the minority that people like you have denied your entire life. You know, sometimes we come in different colors, sometimes we believe in different gods, but sometimes we love different people. And like the kind of people you're describing are still human. You are not. Like, by classification, you are not human.
Yeah.
He's like, well, tell me, Reverend, are labels more important to you than the way we live our lives? What we're supposed to be as opposed to what we are. For all you know, we could be the real humans, and the rest of you could be mutants.
He's like, fuck that, he's got me.
And Stryker looks over at Nightcrawler and he points at him and he goes, and you say that that mutant, who resembles the devil himself, you dare call that thing human. And Nightcrawler's like, oh, my feelings.
Wow.
And
I have been hurtled.
And Storm, like, barges past Cyclops and she goes, he is more human than you. The world gave that boy every reason to be the demon you believed him to be, but he decided to love instead of hate. I hope you and your followers can be half the person he is. And Storm is like, if I have to choose between caring for my friend and believing in your God, then I choose my friend.
Go Storm.
And Stryker pulls out a gun. And he's like,
that's it!
And for that blasphemy, you'll be the first to die.
Oh.
And he lifts up his gun, and everyone's like, oh man, the audience is like, oh god.
I pull out my gun!
I'm gonna shoot someone.
I'm gonna shoot someone.
But he pulls out his gun, and you hear a bang.
Yeah.
But Stryker falls. He's been shot in the back.
Oh.
And when everyone's like, oh my god, who shot him? It was one of the police officers who's on security detail. And all these people are like, you shot Stryker, you shot the Reverend. And he's like, yeah. And he was going to shoot an unarmed woman.
Mm-hmm. What do you want?
Yeah, I was doing my job. He pulled out a gun and shot and was going to shoot someone.
Mm-hmm.
I was just doing my job. So, after this happens, the X-Men leave with Professor X. When they go outside...
That's a goddamn American hero.
Yeah, they just walk out the front door, and of course, the legion of press are there.
Yeah.
The endless wave of bloggers and news reporters and podcasters are there.
Raffi has a cameo in it.
Fucking Mary Jane is in the bottom.
Mr. Summers!
Mr. Summers.
But they're walking out, and they're wheeling Professor X
Can I
out.
get a word? Scott!
Skunt Summers?
HC Wolverine.
But they're all walking out, and the press is there, and like when they're walking out, the Sentinel's in like pieces,
Mm-hmm.
but like one piece, I'm thinking like the head, is being lifted up by Magneto. And he and Polaris are about to fly away, but Magneto looks down at Professor X, and he goes, "Behold, my old friend, proof." And Magneto and Polaris like fly away. And the news anchors are like, they want their big scoop, but as they're going away, Cyclops just turns to them and goes, "The Reverend is alive, but he'll be doing his sermon from behind bars from now on."
Ooh.
The next day, Kurt is in the hospital, and he's watching on TV about like Bolivar Trask being questioned about the Sentinel program, and how how did this random ass Reverend get a hold of those plans and that robot, and also Senator Kelly is being investigated for providing weapons and soldiers for Stryker. When Beast wakes up, he sees Kurt, and he's like, "Oh, what happened?" And Kurt is like, and we don't see Beast yet, but he's like, "What happened?" And Kurt is like, "Yeah, you were banged up really bad, but you have a healing factor, not unlike that other guy, our other furry friend." He just makes some kind of joke about it.
Yeah.
You have a healing factor, but the doctor said you needed more blood. And lucky enough, we share the same blood type, so I gave you some of my blood.
Oh, that's why he's blue.
And Beast is like, "Oh, well, did it have any side effects?" And we cut to Beast, and yeah, his fur is blue now. and Nightcrawler just snickers, and he's like, "No, it went fine."
No, man, you're good.
And he's and Hank is like, "So what? Is it over?" And Kurt's like, "Yeah, Stryker's empire is going to be coming down thanks to our new friend." And we cut to Anna and Charles Xavier in a room with some FBI agents. And Anna is telling them everything about Stryker's operation. And, and Charles is like there supporting her. We cut to the X-Men and the FBI evacuating another warehouse that they owned that was also full of mutant children that they kidnapped. And outside waiting there are the parents of the previous children. And Cyclops is like, "Oh, what are you people doing here?" And they're like, "We came here to personally thank you." So these parents are like shaking the X-Men's hands and getting to know them and talking to them. And one of these people would be someone you saw at Stryker's rally. And he's like, "I'm so sorry. Like I bet on the wrong horse, and I'm sorry about that." We then see the X-Men, the students, and some of the hostages as well as their parents at the Xavier school. And they're all sitting down for Thanksgiving. Because I wrote this around Thanksgiving, so I was like, why not? Not enough movies do something with that. They're all sitting down for Thanksgiving, and Jean kind of turns to Charles and he's like, "Would you like to give a speech, Professor Xavier?" And everyone's like, "Yeah, Xavier, come on, speech." And he's like, "Oh,
speech.
He's like, "Oh no, not me. But what about you, Scott?" I think you learned enough speeches from me." And Scott's like, "I kind of got everything out at the sermon, but I think there is someone who should give us a little bit of a talk." And he turns to Nightcrawler, and Nightcrawler, stands up.
Nightcrawler's like, "Who, me?"
Bamps away. Nightcrawler basically like, "I met my mother recently, and that was not what I expected." And for a while there, I thought that having a mother meant I had to believe in what she believed, and I would have to pick sides. But I'm just happy that I have a family now, and I'm grateful for it. And, he talks about how, like, his favorite thing about his new family is how different everyone else. And, some of us are very caring and sensitive, and some of us are very violent. He looks at Logan, and Logan's like, "What's up?"
Yeah.
But the thing that makes us all the same is our hearts. And that night, when Storm and Jean are doing dishes, Jean and Storm are talking about like what Storm said at the sermon and what Kurt said at the dinner. And Storm is just like, "I just hope that, Kurt left enough of an impact on people who really needed him to." And Jean is like, "Oh, I think he left an impact on enough people." And Jean like uses her powers to show herself and Storm like what Cyclops is doing, and we cut to Cyclops' room where he gets down on a knee and he prays at the end of his bed. That's where the credits come in. The end credit is we cut to the Brotherhood of Mutants, who are at a hotel in Hawaii enjoying the leisure. So Blob is just like in a pool floaty that like won't support him. And Toad is trying to get some like tan, I don't know. But they're all just hanging out and they're all having a good time. But Mystique and Magneto aren't there, they're like making plans. And Polaris is like talking to Pyro like, "This is bullshit. Like I should be there. I'm Magneto's daughter. I should be there for this plan." And like one of the pool boys like drops a drink near her, and she's like, "Hey, excuse me," and the pool boy like runs off, and she's like, "Hey, get back here," and she follows him into like the back room, and when she gets down there, this boy has like energy around his body, like rotating in a circle, and this character is Alex Summers, who is Scott Summers' brother, Havoc, and he's like, I don't know what's happening to me. I don't know what's wrong with me. And Polaris, like, her expression changes to, like, being really caring, and she's like, nothing is wrong with you. You're just gifted. And that's where you cut away. And that's the end credit scene. And that's X-Men Mankind. If you guys enjoyed this, we'll catch you guys next week when we have something else to talk about. But yeah, go to paranormalpodby.com, paranormalblogspot.com. We're on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Spotify, and Anchor, and many other podcasting websites. But again, hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what you thought on Facebook. And we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bub.